Earlier this year, I rewatched The Shining. It truly struck me how this was the only horror film that genuinely terrified me. It's a dive into the good old days with the Overlook Hotel, the ghosts of the past, and the downfall of Jack Torrance.
Darling, light of my life, I'm not gonna hurt you. You didn't let me finish my sentence. I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in. I'm gonna bash them right the fuck in.
I find it notable how what scared me the most as a child watching this film wasn't the twins, nor was it Jack himself. The whole hotel, in my opinion, is what makes this film so horrifying. It's mystifying and disorienting, twisting and turning with the ballroom music that fades around and through the hallways. Kubrick made sure that the hotel was as surreal and mysterious as possible. Objects disappear and reappear between shots, rooms in the hotel are impossible and lead to nowhere. The hedge maze shifts locations and layout constantly, all done to further confuse the audience, subconsciously or not.
One of the apparent design errors that was made obvious by the Duke Nukem level design is the window in Ullman's office. The surrounding hallways wrap around the office, and so the window is spatially impossible. This anomaly is so utterly blatant that it could not have gone unnoticed in the set design and construction. The lights shining into Ullman's office would have to be positioned inside the walls of the surrounding hallway.
The Gold Room is a both comforting and eerie 1920s picture, a moment in time Jack Torrance walks into. Groups of people are sitting around tables, expensive suits ready, drinking at bars, smoking, all ignoring the presence of the disheveled 80s man walking through them in a deserted hotel. I'm actually pretty interested in the music that plays in this scene. It reminds me a lot of the Everywhere at the End of Time is an experimental album by electronic artist Leyland James Kirby, and the final one under his moniker, The Caretaker. The Caretaker's work spans from 1999 to 2019, where he ended his project, and The Caretaker passed away. Inspired by the aforementioned Gold Room scene in The Shining, the undertaking is truly impressive. It's a combination of sampling, distortion, pitch changes, and reverbs, and much more manipulation to really create the sense that you're in a ballroom in the past, slowly fading away. And nothing captures that better than Everywhere at the End of Time. 6 long hours of the fading of memory. Everywhere at the End of Time is an exploration of dementia, specifically Alzheimer's disease, with each track illustrating a symptom of it. Divided into 6 stages to represent the advancement of dementia, it feels like a long 20s train ride down into an abyss. The many albums of The Caretaker make use of sampling classic jazz tunes, bittersweet and nostalgic for long time ago. However, what The Caretaker does with this music is manipulate it, lower the pitch, add crackles, reverb, and a static that removes those feelings. It's nostalgia. It's the classic jazz you remember, but not the same. Something is wrong. This isn't how I remember it, is it? Stage 1 is pretty similar to the rest of The Caretaker's work, nostalgic yet eerie music. Stage 2 is where things begin to get interesting. The music has changed slightly. Distortion has increased. Static begins to take over the music. The Caretaker is starting to forget. He struggles as the memories begin to fight the static taking over. The first track of this stage is titled A Losing Battle is Raging. The length of each track is clearly longer, as the caretaker continues to try to grasp tightly at these memories. Stage 3 is where the music becomes less pleasant. Before, despite the strange static, there was still that familiarity of the jazz tunes that one could still enjoy and imagine playing in the Gold Room. But now, it's starting to go out of tune, cutting off into static at moments, and sometimes even stopping entirely partway through to make way for the next track. The patient is conscious, but you can also pretty clearly see that they're running out of time. At stage 4, the music gets drowned completely. Parts of the jazz only appear for fleeting half seconds before being drowned in a chaotic static, leaving a distorted collection of sounds that one can't even begin to comprehend. A strangely morose, distant, and fading memory at peace that's slowly becoming more and more chaotic. Stage 5 is the blackness. It's dark, brooding, ambient, with sudden snaps of sounds as the caretaker begins to fall apart. Sometimes memories can return in lower pitches for a few long seconds, giving a little bit of hope until it's snatched away again. Stage 6? Well, I don't think it needs much description. So what's my point? Is this a review? A reading of some article? Why am I talking about this? Anyone who's seen my past videos knows that I like putting heavy emphasis on nostalgia. But there's something incredibly different about this. After all, the nostalgia that fuels things like vaporwave, synthwave, and other past genres is their recency, and the fact that there are still people alive to this day that have those memories and keep them alive. But with something like the work of the caretaker, the only way most of us know about these examples of music is from the media we consume. We've understood the context of this music from films, books, and shows, but we've never actually been to or experienced anything like the Gold Room. What does this music make us feel out of context? If we forget the fact that it's playing in a ghostly past, how does this music really sound like? I had the immense honor of having Gordon Stainforth, one of the talented men in charge of the music used in The Shining, reply to a question I asked him on YouTube. My question was, what do you think makes this music both eerie and calming? To quote him, the simplest answer is to say that it was all to do with irony, having cheerful, bouncy music going on in the background as a counterpoint to a scary line of conversation with a ghost. I feel like that's a pretty solid answer. I mean, the music is pretty cheerful. It's only in the context that we have that it becomes something sinister. Nearly all of the iconic tunes we know are love songs. But it's also aged. The fact that many of these songs will soon be a century old is surreal. It's a medium that's existed for that long, and as time catches up to us, is that how our music will eventually sound like? Will the echoes of electronic music be ghostly images of the past? What's happened to the music? The caretaker's time is over. The furniture's been covered up with white sheets. Al Boley died in a war bombing. There's nothing left for us here, besides the ghosts abandoned in the ballroom. We've seen the death of that classy, vibrant time with the start of a Great Depression, followed by a war more deadly than the last. And it's what's been lost that makes it all the more sad. There was a time when ballrooms were full, people were dancing, orchestras were booming, and jazz played at every street corner. But that time and ours have been split by another time, a time of chaos, complexity, death, and some of the most unimaginable horrors. And so, when you bring it into today's world, taking it through the horrors, you bring happy music into an unhappy world. It's a contrast. The fun, romantic jazz tunes come in a fuzzy and outdated, century-old record, played in horror movies to symbolize ancient ghosts. And with the knowledge that the people who presented such cheer are now long gone, it makes things much more ominous. The memories burning in the past.
Midnight were the stars and you. Midnight and a rendezvous. Your eyes held a message tender, saying I surrender all my love to you. Midnight brought us sweet romance.